with your host, Mr. Uhel Barrickman.
Welcome to another of Glasgow Wants to Know. Our subject tonight is arts. We have with us to discuss arts three people who should know quite a bit about arts. Unfortunately, your moderator is somewhat country ignorant about them. But we are fortunate to have on my left Liz Bussy, who is the associate producer at Horse Cave Theater and a very talented player there also. She's a graduate of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. She attended a dramatic art school in London, England. She has attended many other schools dealing with theater. Before coming to Horse Cave, she was director of, or producer, I believe, of the Playhouse at Murray University, and has been at Horse Cave, I think, about 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah, you got that pretty good. Pretty good. I was the director of a community theater in Murray. It was a community organization. It was not connected with the State University. But you got everything else exactly right.
You're right in the mood for this show tonight, because as I've already said, I'm not too knowledgeable on this subject, so anybody and everybody break in at all times. On my right, I have Henry Hefner, who attended Northwestern University. When he retired and came to Glasgow, he was executive vice president of the National Junior Achievement Organization. Since being here, he has been involved in modeling. He has performed at Horse Cave Theater in several different roles over the years. He is very active in musical organizations and is interested in all arts. And on his right is Sam Terry IV, who attended and graduated from Transylvania University. He was assistant curator of Kentucky Historical Properties before he went to Bowling Green and became director of Hobson House. And in addition, he is now president of what we commonly refer to as the Museum of the Barons. So we have some qualified personnel. And I think the first thing we should do is try to come up with some definition of arts. Too many people, when you mention the word art, automatically thinks of painting. And that is a very, very, but an important, but a very, very small part of arts. Do you want to take a stab at giving us a definition of arts, Liz?
I'll start. It's a good question. You know, and however, I got to say before I start here, to my mind, what I do is work in the theater. And that's my job. And I guess maybe some people who attend the theater every once in a while think they see art. In my life, and I spend my life, I guess, working in the arts, but frankly, I'd have to tell you that the term or the idea of art has very little to do with how I spend my day. So I'm going to just say that, I guess, as sort of an excuse before I get going. You know, my days spend a whole lot more with organizing people, making choices. I guess maybe that's where we get into the arts. Because when you're in the arts, I guess you do have to make choices. But I'm going to try to answer your question first. And I'm just like you. I brought some notes along. I don't know a whole lot more other than what I read in the books. But I had to do a presentation once for Leadership Glasgow Barron County. And they asked me to talk about art, which again, I don't think it has a whole lot to do with my life. That's my opinion. But I thought I got some books out and read about it, and I thought I then came up with something that made sense to me. And in the book, in the source that I was reading, it said that we as people have two needs. One is we like to organize things. We like there to be order. We like to organize our yards, for instance. You know, we've got grass growing out there, and we might want to plant flowers along one side of it and put a tree here and a tree there. We want to organize that space. We like to organize sound, you know, into loud sounds and quiet sounds. We like, as human beings, we like to organize stuff. And then the other thing that this book I was reading said is that we also, as human beings, have a need to commemorate, to mark, to acknowledge. Maybe you want to acknowledge, I guess this is a sort of a big example, but the end of a war. Or you want to acknowledge lives lost in a war. So, and this writing said that when those two events meet up, when you organize and you commemorate, when you organize life, lines, plants, notes, sounds, people, good guys, bad guys, when you organize and at the same time you commemorate, you acknowledge that is when you create art. That is, again, that's something I read for Leadership Glasgow Barron County. It has little to do with how I spend my day working in the theater, but it is a response to your question to get us started here.
Thank you. I think you're too modest, particularly as far as your ability as an artist is concerned, because when I see you performing parts in plays I've seen you in at Horse Cave, I think you're artistic.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, but I don't set out to be. I guess maybe that's the difference. I just set out to memorize my lines, to stand where the director tells me to stand, and then to accomplish something with another actor on stage. I don't set out to commemorate or organize. I just set out to do my job. I don't know. Maybe I'm just telling you what I think. So.
Well, that's what we want here. That's exactly what we want.
Just to get us started. Maybe someone can answer that.
What does arts mean to you, Henry?
Well, you know, since coming to Kentucky, I think I've learned a great deal more about arts, in the sense, of course, before coming here, I used to go to the opera, and I used to go to plays, and I used to even draw a little bit in art. But after getting down here and running into Jane Cady, we got interested in the musicale, the Glasgow Musicale, which is one of the oldest music clubs in the state of Kentucky, and they're a member of the Kentucky Federated Music Clubs as well as the National Federation of Music Clubs. But Jane Cady got us interested in it, and as a result, both my wife and I have served as president, and it's bringing music to the people. It's in all forms. They think of music as, well, you just play the piano, or maybe you blow a horn, or whatever the case might be. But the musicale brings in different types of music once a month, and it's free to the public. And they want to interest young people in music. So they have that. Art is one form, and theirs is music. There are others, as Liz has pointed out, the theater, and if you were to talk to Clarence Frederick, it would probably be his watercolors and drawing and stuff like that. But here they have scholarships to provide for the young people to continue their knowledge of music. And I've been very fortunate that two of my grandchildren have performed and have received music scholarships. And not something that we never thought of when we first started out, but Chris started playing the piano when he was in the first grade. And Jane Cady was his teacher. And he won second place in a contest, got beat out by two 8th graders. And as a result, he played his own composition. Well, today he's finishing up at Western. He's a music major and will be his teaching, and then he'll probably be a band director somewhere. He may go for his master's. We're talking him into that, but that's the way it goes. So that's just another form of art, and I just enjoy all aspects of it. To me, if it enhances and enriches the community in any way, it's an art form. And I think Liz was touching on it, she didn't say it, is we have sculptures, we have the Vietnam Memorial, an art form that many people weren't in favor of in the beginning, but now it's one of the greatest things going. And as a result, art takes on one after another. One grows on one and then develops into something else. So that's me and art.
Sam, what does art mean to you?
Well, art is certainly an extremely broad term. As Liz has pointed out, art can be through the spoken word on a stage type presentation. It can be something that is heard, as in music, or played. It can be something written. As far as museums are concerned, art is certainly very much a part of architecture, both of buildings and of landscapes, of decorative arts that bring in the objects that go in those buildings and in those landscapes. It can be a whole variety of things, and I think one of the unique things about South Central Kentucky is that we have a lot of those things in this area that are taking place all around us. We may not always be aware that art is with us every day, all around us, but it is.
I somewhat gather from listening to the three of you that perhaps we could say, in trying to come to some overall definition of it, that art is something that communicates to one's sense of beauty, sense of emotion, some emotional sense, or some sense of beauty, dealing with the esoteric as contrasted with the material, appealing to one's brain and thinking process more than dealing with the material things and physical things.
I was reading a book the other day by a theater director, and he said, and this is just to sort of reinforce what you were just saying, but he said, because you're saying it's not so much about our material life, he said in the theater is a place where the soul speaks to the soul. So that, I guess, would, sort of go along with what you were saying about it not necessarily being related to our physical life, but on another level. It's in the theater, at least he suggested, it was a place where our souls could communicate with each other, which I thought was an interesting idea.
Well, I think in the beginning here, from what all three of you were saying, in one sense of the word, that was sort of the central theme of what all of you were saying. Henry, I was interested in you talking about the musicale and so forth and so on, and particularly interested in somebody having attended Northwestern and supposed to be a very intellectual and highfalutin university, had to come to Kentucky to improve on his sense of art.
Well, it's true.
I think maybe you ought to let some of them up there know that we all aren't barefooted down here. A lot of them seem to think even yet.
No, I think you've got a lot to offer here, and we're delighted to have selected Glasgow to retire, in a way of speaking. I suppose I'm retired from one job, but then I keep going on to something else, even into the theater with Liz, because Liz was my teacher And I took acting lessons, 101 and 102, from Liz Bussy.
It was a good class. You were in the first class I ever taught at Horse Cave Theater. It was a real good mix of people. Very successful class.
Now we're talking about teaching, and you're talking about young people. Is there enough? Well, first of all, why should young people be exposed to art?
Oh.
Now, you've talked about your grandchildren
Yeah,
and so forth. Now you ought to be able to expand on that. Why should they be exposed, and also at what age?
Well, I've been for 35 years. I've worked with high school students, basically, in junior achievement, and I think they're a wonderful group, and they want to know. They want to know more about the life they're going to enter into when they get out of high school or college. And I feel that the more they know, the better equipped they are to become successful in life. And art is so important. Too many people, I feel, think that, oh, we don't need that. We need to teach them how to make a living, or how to run a machine, or drive a truck, or whatever the case might be. But there's more to life than that. And it's the artistic sense of being, of well-being, that I have had the pleasure of enjoying through many contacts that I've had with business people, and then at the universities, and I want to give them as much information, because you never know. And I give a lot of speeches at Allen County, Barron County, Hart County, and Metcalfe County to high school students, and this is one of the questions that come up. You don't know today what your life's work is going to be tomorrow. But the more you know about all of these things, the better equipped you will be to handle the situation. As you go down the path, you'll come to a fork in the road. Do I go to the right? Do I go to the left? And you don't know. But the more you know about the direction of the path, the better off you're going to be. And I keep telling them, learn more about these things. And I go into my background as starting out as a model over at Greenwood Mall, and then into the Horse Cave Theater, and the things that it's opened for me, things that I never dreamed that I would be doing. I've always wanted to be on stage, but I was too shy. Oddly enough, I mean.
I think it's important. You know, Henry was saying you're going to walk down the path, you never know which way it's going to fork. I think it's important to show young people all the different paths there are. Right. That's why I think arts education is important for young people, is so that they can see how many wonderful things there are to do in this world, and be exposed to all of them, and then choose the path they want. But just to think there's only one path that you can go down, I think that's a tragedy, because then lives go, people don't use all of their skills and their talents. I think it's real important to start educating, introducing young people to the arts as soon as they can walk or talk. You can't start too early to show them everything that's out there. You know, as a kid, I was lucky. My folks made sure I got to a symphony concert. They made sure I got to the theater. They made sure I got to a baseball game. I mean, they weren't choosing for me. They just wanted me to see.
You were exposed to all these things,
all the opportunities that are out there, so that I could find one that I thought might fit.
Right.
A few years ago, there was a study done of school children relating to arts. And the whole question posed by the resulting paper was, why is it that young elementary age students in first, second, and third grade can draw, they are creative, they are challenged, they want to explore, and you could say draw a picture of anything and they would probably do just that. It may not actually look like that object, but it's their creative version of it. But yet by the time those same students reach 7th and 8th grade, they would probably refuse to attempt to draw anything. And I think our schools are getting progressively better at encouraging creativity through the arts as a part of the standard curriculum, to not allow that situation to exist, that students are ashamed to be creative. It's not considered the cool thing to be.
I work with a lot of young people. I do a lot of teaching at the theater. I taught in the Glasgow Independent School System this year, and I am reluctant to urge a young person, frankly, and this is a sad thing, but it's true, to choose to try to earn a living working in the arts. It's a terrible way to try to make a living. The arts are not valued in our society. We can sit here and talk about it all night long, but that's just a fact as far as I'm concerned. But when I work with young people, it never occurs to me that I'm teaching them to be artists. When you get cast in a play, the first thing you learn is you've got to be on time for rehearsal. So when we teach, we're teaching stuff like how to get places on time. When you work in the theater, it's collaborative. You always work in the theater with other people. Well, in order to work with other people, you got to be able to get along with them. So we teach how to get along with other people. When we memorize lines in a play, you have to be word perfect. You can't paraphrase. So we learn how to memorize in detail. So I teach all these skills, and then I'm always amazed when 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road, someone turns out to be a good actor. Because that's never what I teach. The other skills that you pick up when you teach young people the arts are just basically survival skills for life in the 20th century, how to get someplace on time, how to get along with people. So I think that's another reason why you should teach the arts and introduce people to the arts at a young age. There's a lot of discipline involved, and that's a useful skill. Did we answer your question?
Both of you again are hitting on something that I think that we could probably have a consensus on, and Sam used the word several times, creative. Art does teach you to be creative, but by the same token, you cannot be an artist unless you are creative or have some or develop some creative skill. And whatever you do, whether you are an inventor or whether you invented television or get involved in science, the natural sciences and so forth, still underneath there is that need to be creative.
I only know mostly what I have learned from Warren Hammock. If I have an artistic mentor, it is Warren Hammock. But at the opening of the 1991 season, which was the theater's 15th season, Warren spoke. And he said, if it is true that we're created in the Creator's image, then we are creative. If He created us to be in His image, and He was a creator, then we are creative.
Very valid point.
I agree. And
very valid point.
I think we are all creative. Now, I don't know what the darn forces at work are that kill absolutely. You were talking about people won't even draw a picture of a house by the time they're 16. What those forces are that squelch, that kill creativity, but I think all human beings are creative. It's you got to work to get it out, and that was Warren's point. If we're created in the image of the Creator, and He created us, then what are we but creators? That makes sense to me.
Overall, I think we have to admit, and you have stated it rather well a while ago, there is not a great emphasis on art anymore in this country, not as much as there was when I was much younger than I am now. Just why, I don't know, but that's one of the reasons we're having this program tonight. When I first said something about having a program on art, they said something to some friends about it. Why that? And of course the answer to that is to, if they want to watch, and you can get them to watch, to expose them to some idea about art, and that's one reason I want to sort of expand on what it includes. We'll get into that a little bit more here in a minute.
I'd like to piggyback on something Sam said. And I heard a speaker said that when he went into a first grade class, and he said, "How many people here can sing?" And everybody raised their hand. He says, then you go into high school, how many people here can sing? Maybe a half a dozen. And you go into college level, how many can sing? Maybe one or two. And these young people are creative. They don't know they can't sing. It doesn't bother them. And we have to encourage that, whether it's singing, whether it's playing a musical instrument. Again, going back on my own grandchildren, one of my granddaughters has a scholarship in playing the bagpipe to St. Andrews College in North Carolina. Now, who would think that you could get a scholarship playing the bagpipe? It's not a very popular instrument. She used to lead the band out on the field at the football games and play the bagpipes, then switch over to the saxophone and so forth. But her father was in the bagpipe band that was located here, and Wendell Hennicott was in charge of it. But now it's disbanded because there's not enough people around to play the bagpipes, and it's something that should be encouraged. After all, this is Glasgow, and we've got to have some tradition. And the Highland Games, for instance, is another way of bringing in these things and educating people. And I think too often they don't know. Gee, I would have done that if I'd have known about it, but I didn't know about it. And so we've got to bring all of these things to the attention of, I say, young people, because if they grow up with it, they will continue it. And I admire the Horse Cave Theater. You're starting when? Next week on your youth program between the ages of 8 and 18?
Yeah, it's in July. It's after we get the first three plays open.
In July.
It's a little later.
And I think that's wonderful. I just wish when I was that age that there were those opportunities.
We're working on a grant report today, so we had to count up some numbers. We found out that we had students from 11 counties at the Student Theater Workshop last year, which is just interesting to me that there is such a need for that kind of programming that they will come from 11 counties for that kind of instruction.
Now let me ask you a question there, and I don't know the answer, obviously. But of those students that come from the 11 counties, how many of them are from impoverished families, if you have any way of knowing?
I would say less rather than more. I think in general the arts are much more accessible to middle and upper class families.
That's one of the things I wanted to get into here
I'm sure
tonight. Now, how can you cure that?
By encouraging them. I mean, somebody has to, at either the school level, the teacher, to recommend someone for a class that Liz is having.
But Mr. Barrickman's saying they'd have to pay $60 for the class.
Right.
And for some people, that eliminates the possibility. That's just out as an option. And I think that's true. And I can tell you how we deal with it at Horse Cave Theater, where we offer what we call usher scholarships. So anybody who ever wants to take a class, we just admit, no questions asked, and then we have them work off some hours ushering, which helps us, and then they get to see the plays for free. But that's not a large percentage of the population who are going to hear about the program and take advantage of it. You've got a point.
Well, and by the same token, the ones that are being missed are the ones that need it most.
Yeah, they probably have the energy.
Well, I think all of our arts organizations have a responsibility to work toward inclusiveness and seeing that those young people have the same opportunities to participate in those things.
If they're coming from 11 counties, that implies someone's driving them over in the morning. So that implies a car or a free parent, either a not working mom or I mean, there's expense there that's even beyond the tuition, and that implies a certain economic background. And we can do all the, and we do. We never say no. We get calls to do a workshop for a program at a family resource center, something like that, and we do them. But you work with 50 kids for 1 hour. You're not doing anything. I mean, let's face it. You work with 50 kids for 1 hour. You're not doing anything. I'm sorry, you're not. That's not an education.
Well, I think there are funds available through scholarships. And many of the civic clubs will offer scholarships to certain endeavors. And I think that if the need is known, the Rotary Club would, I'm sure, provide some funds for a youngster to go to the actor school.
But again, even though there are scholarships, a lot of them that need those scholarships don't know how to go about getting them, and there's nobody that really tells them.
Yeah, and how do they get there? Then they get the scholarship. How do they get there every morning? I mean,
I know there's more involved than just the tuition, but it's the transportation and everything else.
And who pays for 12 years of piano lessons? You know, sure, you can get a scholarship to college if you can play the piano when you're a senior, but who pays for 12 years of piano? That's not the lower end of the economic bracket, I'm afraid.
Overall, I think that our schools here in Glasgow, and of course that includes the Barron County schools, I think we're fortunate that we probably have better programs as far as arts are concerned than the average schools in Kentucky. But and I think that based on what I hear and what little I know, that both of them are trying to expand them. And one program that was started, I guess, a couple of years ago in the Glasgow system, and something that in the beginning I'm sure that most people didn't think anything about it as being an art, but it is, and the way it's developed. And this plant board and the school started a program out there where they were using students that were having difficulties in various classes and so forth, and now that's what you see on channel 48 of this cable vision. And
that's great.
That is, they use their talents to put those programs together and so forth, and we need more stuff like that. But now just how to get it, I don't know. And we need to get more people attending things of art, and I guess we should talk a little bit about what is available around here. Of course, everybody knows about Horse Cave Theater. You have your musical programs and some others, but there's other art that is available here that you don't hear too much about. Sam, can you tell us what some of those are?
Well, certainly at the museum, or under its real name, the South Central Kentucky Cultural Center, we try to provide rotating temporary exhibits. We receive grants from the Kentucky Humanities Council. Their money comes from the National Endowment for the Humanities to present small traveling exhibits on a variety of subjects relating to Kentucky history and culture. Some of those things have been very well received. Another example would be the local historical society has monthly programs. Again, those programs are funded by the Kentucky Humanities Council and various other agencies to ensure that a broad range of topics is presented throughout the state. I think even our local organizations like the Garden Club include arts in their programming as well. There used to be a group of amateur plays produced here by the far-off Broadway players. I believe they are now defunct at this point,
They get something together every year, so I think they resurface and there's a new burst of energy. I bet they burst back one of these years.
But I think there's a great deal offered here. Transfinancial Bank has an art show that is very outstanding, very well received. There are photography exhibits at the local public library as well as at our financial institutions as well.
Henry, you know of any others that he's missed in the area? Not necessarily limited right here in the county and so forth, but...
in junior achievement, and it doesn't cost anything to belong, and it's open to anyone who puts forth a little effort, and they have scholarships available. So it isn't a matter of not knowing, because they go into the high schools and they talk to the students and they give them the opportunity, but they have to, well, they have to get up and go. In other words, we can't drag them there, but it's open to everyone. As I say, there are no dues or fees, and at the end of the year, they can apply for these scholarships. And so this is just another way of helping those who can't afford the music lessons or can't afford the art lessons or can't afford to go to the plays and so forth. But we have to stimulate their thinking into, I can do it.
That's true. And again, you get back, where are the means and how are we going to do that? But of course, even for adults and so forth, there's a whole lot. You've got Western down here in Bowling Green, and they bring in noted speakers, have lecture series during the academic year, and some of that deals with arts, the various arts, and then of course you've got the Capitol Theater that brings in productions from other places, some good ones, and then of course we're not too far from Louisville, and productions being brought in there from off of Broadway all the time, Nashville. So there's all kinds of opportunities, but I don't know how. We're moving along, Henry. You don't have to look at your watch. We're going to make it. Don't worry about it now. We get this hour covered. I'll get you going here in a minute on another subject. We'll get this hour covered, all right. But
I trust you.
Yeah, oh, yes.
One thing that I would just like to add is that I think our society tends to feel far too often that the government should take care of the arts, and that there's always going to be a grant available for an organization that wants to do a play or...
Who thinks that? Do we live in the same country?
All sorts of things. And I think we have to sort of retrain ourselves to realize that everyone needs to pitch in to make the arts viable and available to everyone, that it's not just going to happen through government funding. Obviously, those sources are drying up, as Liz knows all too well.
If anybody thinks that anymore, they're...
And it's really, of course, having a dramatic impact. What's happening with the symphony orchestras around the nation, as more and more are going under. We have a very fine symphony orchestra at Western and Bowling Green, and they are working towards expanding into other areas in South Central Kentucky, which is wonderful. But I think we all have to realize that we all have to pitch in to make the arts accessible.
Well, I agree with what you're saying, but what you're saying also is a reflection on our culture, because these better orchestras that we have in this country and so forth that are now having difficulty, they were formed and originally with private money. It wasn't the government funding that did it. It was done from private sources. And we talk about government money drying up. What has really dried up, even since I was a boy, after all, you didn't until the Depression came along and the WPA started funding some artistic bands and orchestras and theaters and so forth. But until that time, you didn't have the government involved in any of the arts, and they were funded privately. But the private funds have dried up, chiefly because they thought the government would and should take care of it. And I don't know how you're going to change that philosophy now, but again, if you get somebody interested in art, I'm of the opinion that they'll find a means of expressing it. They will find a means of getting to it if they want to see it and be influenced and feel the emotion and so forth that they get from such things. But again, you get back to the basics. How are you going to...
It's an educational program. I mean, you've got to start somewhere, and I guess this is a good place for you to start. Now, I've worked with Liz raising funds for the Horse Cave Theater. Most people think that the ticket they buy pays for everything, and it doesn't. And I've worked with Sam raising funds for Western Kentucky University radio program. We need to educate the public that, hey, this is yours, and you have to support it. And we need your support, we want your support, and so let's get together and do it.
There's one that we've missed mentioning, is Western Kentucky Radio,
right,
which is excellent insofar as the programs that they normally have. And as far as that's concerned, the television channel down there has some excellent art programs from time to time. And again, that's another avenue we neglected mentioning. You hear a lot about what television and the television industry is doing to the young people of this country and so forth and so on. And I think a lot of it is valid, but if you want artistic programs and good things, it can be found on that boob tube.
Well, there are some good programs like this one. I mean,
no, there's some excellent programs
yes,
there.
I know.
There's no doubt about that. And there's some that plenty of people say that shouldn't be there. But we don't want to get into the subject of censorship here
no.
Tonight, because that would really get into something.
We just need more people volunteering to help.
I think I'm correct in what I'm saying, that gradually, year by year, since Horse Cave Theater started, there has been an increase in attendance.
It goes up and down. We had a big increase in 1993. That was the year we opened the renovated building. And we greatly expanded our season that year. I think we went from 99 performances in 1992 to something like 168 performances in 1993. So that was the first year we did Christmas Carol. In December, we really extended the season into October, November, December. So 93 was a big year for us. We played to real close to 30,000 people in 93. And yes, then if we wanted to generalize, what you said is correct. I believe in 1977 the theater played to 8,500 people. So we went from 8,500 in 77 to 30,000 in 93, which was a real big year. With the opening of the new building, all that got a ton of publicity. People were real interested in the new building. In a way, we weren't selling plays so much that year as we were selling a renovated facility. So we got a lot of business. People just hadn't been to the theater maybe for 5 or 6 years. We got a lot of those people back. We were not able to keep that many people at the theater in 1994. 94 and 95, we've come down a little bit. Again, 93 was the first year of the Dickens Christmas Carol show, so everybody came to see it the first year. Second year, there were some people who had missed it, so they came back. But it was real hard for us, because I think part of it is our location, to get a good crowd for Christmas Carol last year. When you do Christmas Carol in a metropolitan area, there are always hundreds of thousands, or at least tens of thousands of new people moving in, and lots of kids coming up, so that you can, you've always got an audience to develop. You know, theaters do Christmas Carol in the cities every year. Well, for us in a more sparsely populated area, it was hard to maintain a good audience for the third year. So as a result of that, we are not doing Christmas Carol this coming year. And that's just a decision based on money. If we could make money on it, we would do it, because we like to do theater. That's what we're there to do, but we cannot afford to lose money on that one. Last year we sort of broke even on it, just barely broke even on it, and so we restructured a little bit for this year. We will not do it. So I guess, you know, that's sort of a long answer to a short question there. Yeah, 8,500 people to 30,000 in 93, and last year it was maybe 28, 27. It came down a little, 1,000.
Well, now my next question.
For 10 more minutes, yes?
Oh, we're going to make the 10 minutes. Probably won't have everything covered then, but my next question is, do you have any way of knowing how many are repeats year after year? I'm talking about
I suppose there's a computer who knows that someplace. How would
in other
we
words,
know
is your local
Yeah.
your local attendance, has it grown?
Okay.
Or has it stabilized?
I think it must be growing. This is why. I think from the get-go, about 15% of the audience has been tourist. And that percentage is the same. So we're now at local audience is 85% of 30,000 people, which is a heck of a lot more than 85% of 8,500 people. So it seems to me that, yes, the answer to the question is yes.
Now,
if you can remember the question.
I can remember the question.
Okay.
Now, the Dickens Carol, are you going to replace it by anything?
Not this year. That is really the standard Christmas show. You know, that's the biggie. And brains have been racked. We have to try to find another script that we think could do as well. I don't know if you really want to know this stuff in all this detail. The other challenge, if we could open Christmas Carol on November 1st, we'd do just fine. But by November 1st, we've done our 6-play season. We've gotten you to see 6 plays, we've gotten Henry to see 6 plays, we've gotten Billy Sam to see 6 plays. Our problem is keeping the theater open then from November 1st to December 1st when we can open Christmas Carol. So we got to keep our company in town for another month before we can start selling tickets to a Christmas show. Does that make sense?
Well, yes, but why don't you use amateur local talent for a Christmas Carol?
The answer to that question is that's not who we are. That's not our mission. Now, in Christmas Carol, we are able to use a lot of community people, and that's a wonderful vehicle for us to do that, and it's a shame we're not able to do it this year because it's been I cannot tell you what a great way it's been for us to get to know the community and for the community to get to know us. But the bottom line about our mission, who we are, what we do, is we are a professional theater. We are a professional arts organization, not a community arts organization.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
There are so many key parts in the Christmas Carol
Yeah.
that require competent actors and actresses such as Liz, and fill in with all of the children, of course, and others. But it just couldn't be done without the full-time actors.
Sam, how's attendance at the Hobson House?
We are having a good year now. In the last 7 years, our attendance has a little more than doubled.
That's great. In how many years?
7 years.
Wow, that's terrific.
We are now approaching 6,500 people a year coming through,
That's
which
incredible.
is commendable.
Yeah.
We have started educational programs which brings in a lot of school groups, and that, of course, helps boost attendance as well. A lot of those are repeat groups that come. The same teacher will bring her class each year,
Right.
Which helps us quite a lot.
Well, and I think we neglected to mention the Kentucky Museum at Western. You know anything about attendance there? Is that up? Or?
I think it is probably up from what it has been in the last few years. Just like any arts organization, there's always a shifting constantly, just like your decision about the Christmas Carol production, of activities that you want to present to the community, exhibits that you'd like to do, restoration, in our case at Riverview, just what you can do. And all of those things really come into play with your attendance figures. If you've just restored another room in the house, or if you just open an exhibit, your attendance is going to go up pretty much from your local visitors that come back regularly. But I think the Kentucky Museum has done very well also, as has Shakertown at South Union. The Corvette Museum also brings in a number of people to this area. Their attendance figures, I don't believe, have been as high as had been predicted, but they certainly are having an impact on visitors touring this area.
Tell the audience a little about what they can expect down the road from at the Museum of the Barons.
Well,
where are you? Where are you going?
The Cultural Center, we're going to be more than just the Museum of the Barons. That is a component of it. But the Cultural Center will be housed in the old Glasgow Pants factory on the north side of the square. We will have a 30,000 square foot space there. Included in that will be the Museum of the Barons to collect, preserve, and interpret the Barons' history from almost prehistoric times to the present. There will be an art gallery included in that. There will be spaces for various organizations to have their meetings and social functions. We will have a large gathering space for larger groups of people to have lectures and possibly even concerts and so forth in that facility. Obviously, storage for museum artifacts will be included in that. The architects, Logston and Logston from Hart County.
Yeah, their daughter was in Christmas Carol
yes,
last year.
Are fast at work on the plans for that. We are finishing up the design development phase at this point. We hope by another 6 to 8 weeks to be ready to bid out the construction work to be performed on site. And I do not know how long the construction will take. Certainly keeping everything up to code, and as I had told Henry earlier, it always takes a little more planning when you're putting something new in an old building and making it work for your purposes. But the effort is alive and well and is underway.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because I think the interest since Beulah's death has sort of died down a little bit, and I'm wondering if there is enough publicity about it now. But it'll be a fine thing for this town and this whole community as far as that's concerned. I don't know anything about art instructions in the Hart County schools. Do you have any knowledge of that?
Oh, let's
Liz?
see. What do I know? No, that was Barron County. You know, I guess I'm going to have to plead ignorant. I'm not sure I know anything either. I think they've started a drama club at the Hart County High School, and I think that's as much as I know. Can't help you, sorry.
I have noticed in the paper here that the Glasgow High School, not the Glasgow, the Barron County High School, has been having 2 or 3 plays a year.
And so has Glasgow
and
High School.
Glasgow's been doing that too.
Glasgow High did To Kill a Mockingbird this year, and they did a lovely job. It was very, very nice. The high school did that.
One thing that I've been complaining about ever since I've been in Glasgow, and that's a long time now, they need to teach debating.
That's a good point. You're absolutely right.
And they don't have a debating team in this high school. They don't have a debating team in the high school in Barron County. One of the most important things that anybody can do is communicate. I don't care what you're in this day and age, you've got to communicate, and you are going to have to communicate from being on your feet. You can't write out everything and
or keyboard it out
keyboard it out. All the emphasis is on doing that,
right.
But you're still going to have to vocally communicate, oral communication.
Think on your feet.
And neither school is doing it, and I have been the attorney for the local board since the mind of man runneth not to the contrary almost, and I fussed with Ed May about it. I fussed with Eldon Smith, and I've talked to Tennant, and I still don't get a debating team.
Now they have a speech team.
Oh yes, and they
So
do.
that-
And the middle school even has got a good speech
Yeah.
program. The middle school here in Glasgow.
You think they'd have debate with the speech department?
I would think so.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, but again, I'm getting on the soapbox here.
You're entitled.
and shouldn't be getting on the soapbox. We're about to run out of time. We've covered this hour, Henry, that you seem to think we were never going to make it.
Oh, I have faith in you. You know that.
We're getting close to closing time. I want to thank each one of you for being a guest here. Probably have one or more of you back from time to time as this thing goes. And if it goes on, this is the 5th year for Glasgow Wants to Know on Glasgow Electric Plank Board cable. And every summer, we go off the air for 2 or 3 months, and we're going to do that again this year. But we will be back in either September or October, probably September. We'll start the 6th year then. The listening public, we welcome any comments that you would have, any suggestions that you might have for a program, any criticisms of past programs. So whatever you think about it one way or the other, let Billy Ray know. But again, on behalf of my guests tonight and all the other guests that we've had, and on behalf of the Plank Board, as well as myself, I thank you for listening. Good night.